I also knew that we were trying to get to the 10-year mark on the company, and it made sense. Like, yeah, by year 8, year 9, there were discussions about maybe is this worth keep going? Should we, shrink it down to just Anthony? Should we close the doors altogether? Those conversations were being had. I didn't make those decisions, but those conversations were being had. And Ant, with his generosity, kept it going as long as he actually did. He didn't have to. And wanted to see. He thought like, damn, let's go. Like 10 years was probably would be enough, and we got to that threshold. And the way everything was executed, leading up to and after that part, within that last year, was way out of my hands. I wasn't even there when Gavin took over and fired everybody. I just wasn't. I wasn't there those days. I was in Dallas doing stuff for the Blaze, and then I get these calls and these texts come back, and then I'm finally like, oh, I guess this is done. We were supposed to be several months down the line because it was going to be a merger. They were, we were going to let the lease for the studio run out and just wind things down, kind of lead to a big, hey, this is the last day of this. Now it's going to become the next thing. And Gavin had other plans. So it should have ended, I think, a year or two before that. And when Ant had the heart attack in the fall of 23, it was like, yeah, we can't keep this going much longer. He just was at the point where and rightfully so, he's done everything. He's at a different place in his life. He had moved. He just wanted to do a show, and that's it. Not even have the rest of the responsibilities of even owning a business anymore. And you can't blame the guy.
But I remember when people would leave Compound Media, specifically the Burning Bridges show hosted by notorious nice guy, lovely man, Kevin Brennan. Mm-hmm. They would specifically come out and blame you, which I thought was kind of weird. Like,
yeah, because they can't take responsibility for themselves. It's always somebody else's fault. And it's their fault they fucked everything up. So they can blame whoever they want, but look where they're at now. It's all their fault.
Erock, have you seen Opie's crazy, hilarious new prank channel? First prank was buying envelopes. True genius.
Yeah. I think the world has seen that. More so than on his YouTube channel. Everyone's seen it elsewhere.
But the reason why I ask about that great Opie thing is that over the last couple of days, like pretty much since the start of this year, what seemed like a dormant feud, and it seemed like, as you mentioned earlier, the Ant-Man had health issues, and there was a lot of nice well wishes being said online. But then recently, the Opie and Anthony feud has restarted all over again, all on Twitter. It's like multiple times.
He's trying to generate business. That's all it is. He launched that new YouTube channel. It's not getting the subscriber numbers or the viewer numbers like his other channel was. I don't know how legitimate his numbers are on his other channel, at least the subscribers, because the ratio from subscribers to views and all that stuff never added up ever. But he's just trying to, he's stirring up shit to generate business. That's all it is, and Ant's playing into it a little bit. I saw some the other day. Ant did like a 40-minute rant on Opie having a video about his Roy Scheider glasses, and it was hilarious. But I mean, it was giving Ant material to play with for a while. But Opie's trying to stir up business for his channel to generate heat, buzz, everything he didn't want anymore. When he kept saying, "I don't want to talk about O&A. I don't want to. I've moved on from this." Now he's got a new entity, a new product he's putting out there, so he has to go back to the well to try to get people to check him out, and that ain't gonna work either. And it shows. It's not working at all. He can be tough guy, keyboard warrior on Twitter all he wants, but it's just not. It ain't doing anything.
Yeah, and it seems like that he's going after Norton as well, which I really don't get why. Because like Norton seems like
Norton doesn't give a shit. Norton won't ever talk about him. Norton, on the rare times that Norton even alludes to that, Norton took the other direction. He's just like, I don't want anything to do with the guy anymore, and followed that. Never brings him up. Sam never talks about him unless it's absolutely necessary for it, or if it's right in front of them that he has to say at least something. Nobody talks about the guy, and that's what he wants, but it's not what he wants. He wants constantly people talking about him so that he can respond, he can get agitated, and you know that it will translate again to business for his YouTube channels, maybe paying him during his super chat stuff and what have you. It just draws in the old fans that are still clamoring for what we all missed. It was the actual show, but it's never going to be the actual show. We'll never get anything remotely close to that back. Even if they all decided to sit down and do an episode together, it'd be nice, but it's like when your favorite sitcom goes off the air and then they have the 10-year reunion episode, you know, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's not the same anymore. And you don't want to see more O&A again, because it's just not going to be what you remembered.
Yeah.
Ope can say what he wants. He speaks out of both sides of his mouth.
Oh,
It is what it is. It's not an insult. He's sitting there. I don't want to talk about Opie and Anthony, but he puts Opie and Anthony clips up. I stop asking me about Anthony, but he takes all the super chats that are coming in that are saying stuff about Anthony. He's dumb and he's not at the same time. That's the best way I can put it. I did a thing on Who Are These Podcasts a while ago. These clips came out that were sent to us of Ope talking about how he regrets ever doing Opie and Anthony, and he wasted his youth and the best years of his life doing this program, as he's sitting 500 feet above Manhattan, and you're seeing the Hudson River and the New York downtown landscape and everything from where he's sitting there. He's like, I regret all of this. It's like, you made millions of dollars, and if he regretted it, he'd have a more humble background, a more humble situation that he's talking about. I don't want to say resentful. It actually insulted everybody that worked on that show. It wasn't just attacking Anthony this time, or Norton this time, or Jim and Sam for whatever. It was saying everybody that worked there, the show, the staff, the management at all the different companies that were paying us, and that the whole thing was just a big regret, and he wishes he never did it. It's like it was a big feud to everybody, revisionist history kind of shit. At that point, I was just like, enough, you dude. We all loved being there for as toxic and chaotic and also as fantastic as it was doing that show and having those jobs and getting the access to things that we did. I don't regret any of it. I've had people saying, oh, you got abused the most. How do you still look back? It's like, that's only what you saw on the air. And a lot of that stuff I brought to the air. It wasn't like there's some stuff we all got called off, for doing something stupid, or got caught or whatever, not thinking about something or saying the wrong thing. But a lot of that shit I brought to the air, and I said, I have this. All right, we'll figure out a way to do that. Why would you tell us this? Because it would be funny on the air. None of us look back at that time. We have regretful memories, but we have a lot more fond memories of doing that show and having that privilege and that ability to do what we did. And then to turn around and say, well, this, I hated it. I wasted the best years of my life. You got everything from that show. A lot of us got almost everything that we have right now from that show. None of us are looking back and regret. We go, it sucks the way it ended. It sucks the way our relationships have all diverged since then. But that's life. None of us regret doing that show except that asshole. And that was the point where I just I've had enough with this shit. Because I've made comments about him here and there, and for the most part, I never deal with him because he causes his own problems and he'll never learn. But that thing really pissed me off because it's just like, we all knew what that show was. The audience knew what that show was.